Once a bustling thoroughfare, Highway Hollow had become a desolate stretch of asphalt winding through the dense forest. Tales of disappearances and ghostly sightings shrouded the road, deterring all but the most foolhardy travelers. On a moonless night, a group of friends set out on a road trip, their laughter echoing through the silent woods. Their destination was a remote cabin nestled deep in the heart of the forest, a place rumored to be haunted but perfect for a weekend of adventure. As they drove along Highway Hollow, the dense canopy of trees seemed to swallow them whole, casting eerie shadows across the road. Unease settled over the group as the darkness pressed in around them, and the once lively chatter dwindled to nervous whispers. Suddenly, the headlights flickered, casting strange patterns on the road ahead. The driver, Jake, cursed under his breath and tried to steady his trembling hands on the wheel. But before he could react, the car lurched to a halt, the engine sputtering and dying in the oppressive silence. Panic set in as they realized they were stranded in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by darkness and the unknown. With no other option, they decided to continue on foot, hoping to find help or shelter before the night consumed them. As they trudged along the deserted highway, a sense of foreboding weighed heavily on their hearts. Strange noises echoed through the trees, whispers that seemed to beckon them deeper into the forest. Shadows danced at the edge of their vision, elusive and menacing. Hours passed, and exhaustion threatened to consume them, but still, they pressed on, driven by fear and desperation. Just when they thought they could go no further, they stumbled upon a dilapidated motel, its neon sign flickering ominously in the darkness. Relief washed over them as they approached the decrepit building, grateful for the prospect of shelter from the encroaching night. But as they stepped through the door, they were greeted by a sight that chilled them to the bone. The motel was deserted, its walls covered in peeling wallpaper and cobwebs clinging to the corners. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and a sense of dread hung heavy in the stale atmosphere. Ignoring their instincts screaming at them to flee, the group ventured further into the motel, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. Each room they passed seemed to hold its own sinister secrets, whispers of past horrors that lingered in the shadows. As they reached the end of the hallway, they came upon a door that stood slightly ajar, a faint light flickering from within. With a sense of trepidation, they pushed open the door and stepped into the room beyond. What they found inside would haunt them for the rest of their days. The room was a twisted mockery of a nursery, its walls adorned with faded wallpaper featuring playful animals now warped into grotesque caricatures. In the center of the room stood a decrepit crib, its rusted bars creaking ominously in the stillness. But it was not the sight of the crib that sent shivers down their spines, nor the sense of malevolence that seemed to permeate the very air. No, it was the figure that stood in the corner of the room, its features obscured by shadows but radiating a palpable sense of malice. Frozen in terror, they watched as the figure slowly turned to face them, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. With a blood-curdling scream, they turned and fled, the echoes of their footsteps drowned out by the sinister laughter that pursued them. Back on the highway, they stumbled blindly through the darkness, their minds consumed by fear and madness. The woods seemed to close in around them, twisting and distorting into nightmarish shapes that mocked their terror. Just when they thought they could go no further, they stumbled upon a clearing bathed in moonlight, a lone figure standing at its center. With trembling hands they approached the figure, their hearts pounding in their chests. But as they drew closer, they realized with horror that the figure was none other than themselves, their faces twisted into grotesque masks of terror. With a final, agonized scream, they were consumed by the darkness, their souls claimed by the highway that had devoured so many before them. And so, Highway Hollow claimed yet another victim, its secrets buried deep within the shadows of the forest, waiting to ensnare the unwary and the foolish who dare to tread its haunted path.